I want to welcome Manish Sabharwal, Vice Chairperson, Team Lead Services. For those who don't know, Manish's expertise is really manpower, training, recruitment. He understands the labor economy better than most people I know. Harish Bijur is Bangalore's best-known brand guru. He joins us on this broadcast as also Dr. Sudha Halkai, spokesperson of the BJP. I want to go across to Manish Sabharwal. We just heard from Santosh Lad, the Labour Minister of Karnataka. He says, what is wrong in the Karnataka State Employment of Local Industries, Factories, Establishment Act, Bill 2024? He says, we're not mandating it. We're saying this is ideal, work towards 50%. If you don't find 50%, even 25% in management is good enough. Manish Sabharwal, explain as best as you can to the Karnataka government why you think this bill could be detrimental to Bangalore and to Karnataka.
I mean, I think we have to acknowledge that people are disadvantaged all over the country. And obviously, there's no such thing as poor people. There are people in poor places, you know. So I think Bangalore's attraction has been established over a long time as a job magnet. The challenge for all of us to understand this is that Karnataka has become what it has is because it was a meritocracy. Right, everything, you know, cricket became more of a meritocracy because of IPL. I think movies became more of a meritocracy because of OTT, and you know, business became more of a meritocracy because of private equity. And prosperity is about meritocracies. I think you should have a welfare state. You should redistribute income and taxes to people who need it. But I think if you kill the golden goose, you can't finance a welfare state by debt. You can finance a welfare state by taxes. The same way you can't provide jobs in the private sector based on where you were born or the color of your skin. I mean, so reservations is very politically complex. It does create political constituencies. It does help the disadvantaged. But you can't discriminate in favor of somebody without discriminating against somebody. So in my mind, I think the genius of Bangalore, you know, software is 0.8% of India's labor force, but it's 8% of GDP, is because we have assured all the investors, and I'm not sure all the companies in Bangalore are built by people who are here 100 years ago. They have been created by actually foreigners. And I think the most ironic thing is, you know, when you walk around San Francisco, you see a lot of people wearing T-shirts, I was Bangalored. So Bangalore is a verb for, you know, American jobs taken away by Indians in software. So I think we have to be careful if we think that all the jobs in Karnataka were not, many of the jobs in software have been globally competitive, which means that they were taken away from somebody else in some other country. So I would just urge us to think about the genius of Bangalore. It is a meritocracy. It's been cosmopolitan. It's not only at the intersection of, you know, 3 states in South India. It's a little bit of Andhra, a little bit of Tamil Nadu, a little bit of Karnataka, which is why Bangalore's positioning. It's established itself as a global brand, and I think that there is enough for everybody. I don't think we need to interfere in private sector recruitment or meritocracies to ensure that everybody in Karnataka gets a job or is prosperous.
Harish Bijur, you heard what Santosh Lad, your state minister, had to say. He says, what's the problem? Just give it a shot. If you don't find someone, you know, we're happy to reduce it to 25%. It needn't be 50 or 70. Give it a shot. Why isn't India Inc. willing to try? What do you think is your biggest concern? What are you most spooked about?
I think, you know,
I'll put it this way. That, firstly, I must say that I'm a proponent for language primacy in terms of, you know, Kannada in Karnataka. I'm a total proponent for that. But that proponent, being a proponent of that, I would say that, you know, the name boards, you know, of shops, etc., must have primacy in Kannada. That's fine. But when it comes to the private sector, you know, there are 3 sectors of the economy which give jobs. One is the private sector, the government sector, and then the NGO sector. When it comes to the government sector, if you wish to implement any such thing, it can be implemented. But when it comes to the private sector, just be very, very careful would be my advice. Because again, we're talking about a merit-based private sector, which has fallen into place over the last 27 years, led by the IT industry, then ITES, biotech, and numbers of other industries. The number of people who come into Bengaluru all come in basis merit. And I think we have become a merit magnet city. And if you really ask me, you know, I keep saying Bengaluru is the intellectual capital of India, the IP-led city. So if you look at this city, it's extremely critical to continue that basis of taking care of jobs on a merit basis. I hate the thought of a government Raj coming into private sector recruitment. Even the thought of it is a bit of a worry. Because I think, that's where you sully merit, and merit must not be sullied because Bangalore has a lot to contribute back to this country at large, leave alone to the state.
Tehseen Poonawalla, you heard Manish Sabharwal and Harish Bijur. They're saying that investors came in given a certain set of circumstances and a certain set of assumptions. Now, with this new Karnataka State Employment of Local Industries Factories Establishment Act, you're changing the rule of the game, and suddenly all these companies, these startups will have to assess whether they wish to be in Bengaluru or not. This could be to Bengaluru's great disadvantage. Why would the Congress want to kill the hen that lays the golden egg?
Rahul, good evening. Thank you so much for having me at the show. And I heard Manish and Harsh very, very attentively. And I, like Harsh, I'm a proponent of local languages, state languages. So Marathi in Maharashtra, my home state, Kannada in Karnataka, absolute primacy. And there must not be any other language that should get more importance than the state language. I'm very clear on that. But as for this bill, let me just assure your viewers 2 or 3 things. It's a draft bill. So, of course, there'll be it can undergo changes. I do thank civil society for standing up and putting the suggestions as well as industry. But again, there is one thing that I find absolutely hypocritical. While I think that, we are today, there is the China +1 policy, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Telangana and Maharashtra competing for global companies to come and invest here. And therefore, this policy will have a disadvantage despite being a Congress supporter. I completely concede to it. I must say it, that the same industrialists who today rightly are pointing out its flaws don't have the guts to call out the Honorable Prime Minister when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat, who did an 85% reservation policy in Gujarat. They don't have the guts to call out Haryana, which did a 75% policy. Do you know what, Rahul? The Punjab and Haryana High Court stuck down the Haryana policy. The matter has been appealed by the BJP government in the Honorable Supreme Court. And for the last 2 years, the Union government under the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji has not replied to the Supreme Court on what their stand is. Yesterday, Shri Amit Shah ji was in Haryana. You may cross-check me. And there he said, look, we promised to implement local reservation. That is the problem with the BJP. The BJP has no moral ground to talk on this.
Okay.
As an entrepreneur, I think that this must be relooked. Yes, Kannada must get importance over other languages, but no, they cannot be local reservations based on
Sudha
this, especially in the highly skilled.
From the BJP. Now, in Gujarat in 1995, the state introduced 85% reservation for locals. The policy was never enforced either in the private or public sectors. In Haryana, this policy was introduced just last year. It's been stayed now by the government, but that bill was passed in 75% of jobs in the private sector, November 5, 2020. And then it went to the courts, and then it got stayed by the courts. So your government in Haryana has also tried to do the same, which is the Congress's argument that when in Haryana you can introduce this policy and the BJP there seems to think it's the right thing to do, why then would you oppose the Congress implementing it in Karnataka?
Rahul, let me make it very clear, we are not opposing it. The matter of fact is that this is a sinister design by the hypocritic Congress government in Karnataka to divert the people's attention towards the core scams and the failures of the Karnataka Congress government here today. We are, for us, for the BJP, it is nation first, and we give equal importance to the territorial nationalism. When we architected the NEP, it was we who got that, the state regional languages should get the first priority and they should be implemented in the first 5 years of the children's education, which the BJP government in Karnataka had opposed. Third thing, now when I've spoken about the scams, why are they trying to deviate and divert this attention is the scams, that is the Valmiki Nigama scam, which has 187 crores, where the funds have been given to the other states' elections. Now comes 25,000 crores of scams, that is misutilization of the SC/ST funds, which has been diverted to the guarantees, and comes the Muda scam of the Chief Minister himself. In all these core scams, the Chief Minister of Karnataka, Mr. Siddaramaiah, is deeply rooted. And tomorrow they are going to have a wide protest in Karnataka regarding this by the SC/ST and all the people of Karnataka. Now tell me, why are they into diversion politics?
Okay, I don't want to get sidetracked into the politics because this is a very serious issue, but I'm going to give Tehseen just a very quick opportunity to rebut because this is a charge the BJP is leveling, that you brought this bill Ma'am, if both guests speak at the same time, I can't moderate the debate. So you've made your point. Tehseen will respond very briefly on the political aspect that there are two big scams that have come to light. Scams where funds are being diverted for the implementation of your guarantees from things like Dalit welfare, and which is why you're now trying to do something to diffuse attention.
I'm sorry, Rahul. This made as much sense, that is zero sense, as the Honorable Prime Minister's press conferences, zero press conferences. Please, is the BJP for this bill, draft bill, or against it? One is either pregnant or not pregnant. You can't be half pregnant. What the Congress did, Siddaramaiah ji did, DK Shiv Kumar did, they are corrupt, non-corrupt. Forget all of that. Are you for the bill or are you against the bill? If you're against the bill, are you for the bill in Haryana and Gujarat? If you're for the bill, then please come on TV why your senior leaders opposing it. Please make very clear to the viewers of Rahul Kanwal's show and India Today. Don't come here and divert the issue. Are you for it or against it?
Are you for it or against it? Sudha Alkai.
1 minute. Rahul, have they cleared it? Why they are diverting the issues from the scams? Why are they not giving the justification what they have done? And what have done in the past 13 months, what the Congress government has given to the people of Karnataka who have got them with so much of mandate. The number of crimes have increased, 60% of crimes against women have increased. So, there's collapse of law and order.
So we are going on a different tangent. My attention here is to try and understand whether this becomes a precedent, because Manish Savarwal, my concern is if Karnataka implements this successfully, then other states will say, hey, we can do the same. Telangana may want to follow, other states may want to do the same. Now, we've seen when Haryana brought in 75% mandatory reservation for locals, that was struck down by the Punjab and Haryana High Court. The case is currently before the Supreme Court. If the Karnataka government says that this is not mandatory in the same way, this is on a best effort basis, do you think it then passes muster? Can it then fly, or is it still as problematic, and do you think the courts will strike it down? Manish.
Well, I'm not a constitutional expert. It's above my pay grade on whether the courts will strike it down. I think there are other alternatives to this. You know, the demographics of Kerala are the same as Italy. 8% of Kerala is now Bihari, and Chhath is almost a holiday there. I think the infrastructure of opportunity, you know, fixing the education, employment, and employability of Karnataka is very strong in the technology sector, but there are huge gaps in skill development. There are huge gaps in primary education, which is why you're probably getting this demand. I mean, we don't live in an economy, we live in a society. So I would submit, of course, I think that this is economic insanity and the courts may strike it down, and I hope they do. But I think it is also not the only option on the table. There are other alternatives.
What are your ideas? Since you deal so much with labor and employment, given the challenges these politicians face, how could they encourage the employment of locals without crippling enterprise and innovation?
I think they can think about, you know, just improving the primary education system, improving the skill development system, ramping up the degree apprenticeships. There are thousands of things we can do to create the infrastructure of opportunity for people who need it. I think, you know, if you have a headache, you don't cut off your head.
Okay, let me put that same question to Harish Bijur. This is clearly a challenge politicians face. And the locals would clap. Many of the locals would clap if there is that much reservation for locals. But you don't want to cripple enterprise. You don't want to cripple innovation. You don't want to cripple these startups. How can these two different impulses be balanced?
Okay, Rahul, firstly, I only wish we weren't bringing politics into this.
Correct.
Because, you know, this we are all responding on it from a very professional basis to say that, you know, hey, the private sector's animal spirit will get affected. So I would say, you know, there's populism at one end and then there is professionalism at another end. Let professionalism be and let populism be, in the sense that the Karnataka state government has put together a terrific 5 guarantee scheme, which has done wonders to the poor at the grassroots level. And I think that's been copied by N numbers of states. Mr. Chandrababu Naidu is doing it, free bus rides for women from the 15th of August. And N numbers of states will implement it in the future. So what happens in Karnataka doesn't stay in Karnataka. It seems to go all over. So I'm afraid even this might go all over, as it has come from other states. What can we do? I think we must let professionalism be. Do not touch the private sector with this kind of an implementation of a reservation policy. Let the animal spirit remain. As far as earnings are concerned, you earn from the private sector. the GDP of the state, the contribution that we get into the state is fundamentally hugely skewed towards the private sector, the IT sector, the ITS, biotech, and numbers of other industries that we are talking about. So I'm really saying the policy and philosophy must be one of Robin Hoodization. Give those 5 guarantees and spend money on them because they're going to the poor, help the poor. But at the same time, get the money in from the savvy, sharp businesses which are at the cutting edge and bleeding edge of India as far as Bengaluru is concerned. So don't touch that part of the industry which is giving you the monies with which welfare state can run. A welfare state is still necessary in India, at least for the next 10, 15 years.
Manish Agarwal, do you think this is just posturing by India Inc. when the likes of a Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw or a Mohandas Pai, NASSCOM, they say we will leave Bangalore? Is that just a threat, or do you think a rule like this will actually force companies to change locations?
I think obviously in the short run it's hard to move, but in the long run, incremental investments, I mean, the value of companies is not stock, it is flow. It is what we will do in the future. So I think that this is not the only alternative available to the government to help Kannadigas. I think there are many smart Kannadigas who might actually find it insulting that you feel that they need help of this kind. I think the infrastructure of opportunity is a better way to go than either financing welfareism by debt. Let's finance it with taxes, and let's be clear that yes, companies in the short run can't leave. But in the long run, I think competitive federalism is a reality. 29 chief ministers are starting to compete with each other. The 40 factory refugees from China who are looking to move from China, only 2 of them, Apple and Samsung have set up, but there are 38 other factory refugees looking to set up in India. They will obviously look at stuff like this.
I've just got some breaking news coming in, and it seems that the powers that be are watching the news track at this moment, because the Karnataka government has been told has put this jobs quota bill on hold. The Karnataka government says they will relook this decision. Nagarjun Dwarkanath heads up our Karnataka Bureau. He joins us. Nagarjun, this is exactly the conversation we were having on the news track at this time. That this could be very deleterious to the interests of the state of Karnataka. Lots of industry may leave. Now you're telling us that this bill has been put on hold. Why is that? Explain what they've decided to do.
In fact, the sources in the government has confirmed to India Today, Rahul, that since morning there have been a lot of comments coming in from the industry experts that this is practically not viable, and now the government has put the whole cabinet decision on hold when the cabinet passed the draft bill of quota for jobs for Kannadigas in Karnataka. That has been put on hold. Most likely the government will relook it and not make maybe 50% or 75%, and also sit with the industry experts and to talk to them about how...
But didn't they do any consultation before they brought this bill?
They did preliminarily is what we are told, but now they want to have a wider range of consultation or talks or mediation with NASSCOM and other industry experts as well. It was only a hand-picked few is what we are told who did give their support consultation, who were also local businessmen and also local tech company CEOs and MDs. But now that the issue has gone out of proportion and also a lot of states are already welcoming industries to their state, that's the reason why the government wanted to go relook at the whole bill, and the cabinet decision has been put on hold after the consultation.
Thanks, Nagarjun, for breaking that story for us. Manish Agarwal, it seems that the powers that be are listening to you and Harish Bijur very carefully. They've put the bill on hold even as we were doing this live broadcast this evening.
I think Karnataka's genius is the ability to heal itself. It's the ability to welcome people from all over. It's the ability to listen. So I think that, we all are trying to find better ways to create the infrastructure of opportunity for people around us, for people all over the country. So I think that it's important to recognize why this demand came. This demand will not go away. But the solution to it is a better education, employment, and employability ecosystem rather than sort of... issuing
Harish Bijur,
stuff which is hard to implement and frankly doesn't work.
I agree completely, because you can implement this rule or try and implement this rule. Companies will find some way of short-circuiting it and no purpose will be served. You have to kind of bring people and companies on board more willingly, so it's actually done in a more sustainable fashion. Harish Bijur, your voice clearly having big impact, being listened to very carefully, but they'll find some other way. They put it on hold. They'll find some other way of trying to bring some other version of this bill, but it's really all the blowback from all of you in Bengaluru has really seen the government have to pull back now.
Rahul, I didn't know that in a 30-minute program, I'll be irked at one end of the program and happy at the other one. And I think, this happiness comes from the decisive nature of what Mr. Siddaramaiah and Mr. D.K. Shivkumar must have taken as action. But if you ask me, what has already been done is raise the expectations among the common man in Karnataka to say that Kannada primacy is coming in and there are going to be reservation of jobs. Now there is a pullback. Now, the thing is, this needs to be managed. Governance is an art, a science, and a philosophy. The philosophy is all okay, but the art and science needs to be perfected before making announcements out in the public. And I think this decision did not have enough consultations with the right industry. And I keep saying, in Bengaluru, industry is just 20 people possibly across 20 different phone calls. That's all you need to do. And I think if that was done, we wouldn't have come to this pass. I want to compliment the Karnataka state government for taking this decision, if it has taken this decision, to put this on the back burner.
Well, they have put it on hold, but I don't know whether they deserve compliments because they're the one who brought in this botched up idea without consultation in the first place. Now under pressure and duress, they're having to pull back. That's the reality. I don't see why you're worthy for any compliments for that. But this is where I wrap up this broadcast. I want to thank Harish Bijur and Manish Sabharwal for joining us. Thanks also to Sudha Halkai and Tehseen Poonawala for giving us a political perspective. The good news though there is that while this broadcast was on, that bill has been put on hold, and thank God for that.